Hello everyone, this would be our second subsequent video in which we would be covering our first GUI test. Prerequisite would be understanding graphical user interface of UFT, all the menus, Solution Explorer, Toolbox, what is the Object Repository Manager, what is the Add-in Manager, how actually Run Result Viewer looks like. We would be covering our simple automation for desktop as well as web application. For desktop, we would be looking in flight reservation application which comes bundled with UFT installation. And for web related, we are searching UFT One on Google. Our aim would be just to understand how UFT works and how run result viewer looks like. This is just overview of creation of one simple test case plus execution and verification in the results. So steps we will be covering as recording. It's a first target just to understand how UFT interacts with application under test. After that, we will be modifying a crude code into manageable VB script. Then we would be executing our script and verifying the result in run result viewer. Also, we'll be covering explanation of update and future modifications of our script so as to incorporate script into automation framework. So let's begin.
So let's start how UFT graphical user interface looks like. This is the Solution Explorer. Here a tree-wise structure for each and every action, its repository, whatever function library it uses. It shows over here. There is a toolbox. Currently it is showing no tools available. Whenever we are working on any test case, it will show the tools corresponding to that test. This is mainly used for API test cases. This is the start page. From here you can create a new test case. From here you can open an existing test. These are the menus. This is the normal file. There are options new, open. In new you can create new test, new business components, new solution, new function library, new application area. Usually we create new test, and with this you open the test or business component or solution or function library as well. File close option is there for closing any open test or function library or any business component. Can work with recent. What is the recent test? It shows here. Can import the test from external source as well. And for exiting UFT, these are disabled because no any test is open as of now. So after opening, we can save as a copy. Save for RPA. Yes, UFT 15 have integration with robotic process automation. So yes, it supports RPA as well. Save all, save other. Second menu is view. It shows different panes. So Solution Explorer is visible here, Toolbox is visible here, Properties pane you can see here. As of now properties would be blank. So whenever any test opens, it shows properties corresponding to any object. Data, this is the data pane. This is the Excel sheet. It will show the test data corresponding to action, and for all the actions there is a global sheet also. We will see this in depth when we go through stepwise guide for each and every component of UFT. So this is just overview session. We'll be covering the major important things which are required for automation. Output pane shows output of corresponding execution or command, you can say. Error pane shows what are the errors. Debug window shows here you can put breakpoints and see the result of particular variable or particular command or particular object also. Last run results can be seen here. Reset window layout, so it will reset to default. Switch to BPT view. UFT supports business process testing, so you can modify UFT's view to BPT as well. Resources, there is only one option, Object Repository Manager. So this is very important part in UFT to understand. If you understood object repository and how it works, you understood nearly about 50% of UFT. Okay. Then there is a ALM integration, so you can integrate your UFT with ALM as well. Tools, what are the different tools available? Object Spy. For working with object repository, you need to work with Object Spy. Regular expression evaluator is it is also related to object repository. You can identify particular object with regular expression. Yes, tools options, and this is the setting window So startup options are there. Display add-in manager on startup. So whenever you open UFT, it shows add-in manager and which add-ins are visible. If you check this checkbox every time while opening UFT, it will show add-in manager. Display start page on startup. So start page, this is the start page. So it will show start page whenever this checkbox is checked. Close start page after test loads. So when you open any test, it will automatically close the start page. Display warning if associated add-ins are not loaded. Yes, it will show you have created any test and specific add-ins you have used for creation. Then if add-in we deselect at the start, then it will show warning. This add-in you have not loaded but associated with your test. So, and this is the default test location. It shows wherever UFT is installed. These are the run sessions specific to run result. View results when run session ends. So it automatically shows the result when test execution is completed. And what is the report format? It will show HTML report. So from here you can select what kind of report you want to see. It will show and open the result inside UFT only and in HTML format. Also there is a run result viewer, and in which you can see stepwise and in-depth report. You can select this radio button as well. You can export run result also. After clicking on this checkbox, UFT will automatically export the run result. Enable testing on logged off or disconnected remote computers. Enter the credentials used to gain access. Okay, so here UFT provides the feasibility to work with remote machines, and here you can provide by default username, password, and connection to the remote desktop. Output pane format. So this is the output pane. What kind of result, font and size and all these settings you can do from here. Version control system. So this is the new integration with UFT 15. You can just integrate to your version controlling system, for example SVN or Git. So UFT supports SVN and Git. So these are the generic settings. This is for GUI, these are for API tests, these are for BPT, business process test. Okay, this is important. Test run mode, normal and fast. So you can select fast mode so that do execution very fast. Okay, these are some of the options from above menu which we use regularly. This is object spy, which we have already mentioned. Last run results, this opens in run result viewer. So these are the options, tools options, same shortcut here. So let's create our first GUI test. I have clicked on create new GUI test. So let's create a GUI test with my first test one. Solution name, it automatically creates, and create. Great, first test is created. This is the solution, and as I said, there would be subsequent actions created below the test. Okay, and this is the data. This is global, which data can be used throughout the actions, and this is for particular action. Let's automate for flight application. It comes with micro focus. So let's open sample application, flight GUI. Let's log in with user ID. User ID is John, password is HP. Click on OK. Let's select first one, Denver. Let's select Frankfurt. Select 19th December. Let's have first class, and we'll select only one. Find. Let's select first one. Let's select flight. Passenger name John. Order 87 completed. Okay, so we'll validate like this. Let's start recording. This is the shortcut for record. Before that, we will check record and run settings. We'll keep this setting open for Windows application. We'll open flight application. UFT can recognize it and start recording on that. Okay, let's open flight application. This is flight GUI. Okay, let's start recording. Start. This window shows recording is in progress, and from here you can stop. From here in between, if you want to pause, you can pause. Okay, fine. Let's select text box, username. Let's enter user ID, password, click on OK button. These three steps recorded. Now let's go ahead. Select first Denver, select Frankfurt. Let's pick a date. Let's select class as first class. Let's keep ticket only one. We need single ticket and find the flight. Let's select first one with USD $179.47. Select flight. We have to give passenger name. Let's enter John Smith. Order. Click on order 93 completed so that it get recorded. Fine. And let's stop. Okay. So these number of steps got recorded. Before that, you need to confirm you have selected WPF add-in. It's a Windows Presentation Foundation add-in because all the components used in flight reservation application is from WPF components. Fine. You can check from file settings, and here are the associated add-ins with the test. These are test settings, so you can validate from here. If you want to modify, you can modify. I've selected these number of add-ins: .NET, ActiveX, Visual Basic, Web, WPF and Silverlight. Okay. Usually we don't need to select these number of add-ins as it's a Windows based application. You can deselect Web. Fine. Let's run this record. Okay. I will close this flight application and reopen another one. And let's run. Okay, John is entered, password is entered, Denver entered, Frankfurt, yes. Okay, yes. So always whatever you have recorded, it usually works. That is not the case. Though this is the first step, we need to modify our code according to our requirement. Fine. What it says is object description matches more than one object currently displayed in your application. So we need to check how we can overcome this. Fine. After click on debug, it will show WPF calendar mo set date. Calendar window, it found more than one. Let's see how we can overcome. Let's stop this. Run result will show calendar objects description matches more than one objects currently displayed in your application. Okay. So it is not uniquely identifying the calendar object. Let's close the report. I'll open object repository. This is flight sample and this is our calendar. But only class is entered and name mo. So let's add this object. I've clicked on add. Let's press a control and left mouse click on this icon so that I can just use this window. It went further, so let's go back and let's select 24. Fine. Let's select this one because I need a WPF calendar to be added in object repository. Click on OK. Only selected object I need, so I've clicked on this radio button and click on OK. Fine. And where is it? It's not added, I guess. Is it added here? No. So what was the property it is having? It is having same name as this, right? Let's enter this name here. WPF calendar. It was the developer name. Copy this and enter here so that it can identify the object. Okay. Let's close this. Application is open. Let's close and reopen. Light GUI. Once I have updated the object name in object repository, before it was AMO, right? Now it is WPF calendar because I have updated its name in object repository. Why I have updated? Because in object spy I've seen the developer name was WPF calendar, so I have updated it accordingly. So let's see if it works fine or not. Let's run. Yeah, I forgot this. You have to select temporary run result folder, because if you select new run result folder, it will create new result folder like this: result 2, result 3, result 4. It will iterate and create new result folder under your test. Okay, and that is not required, right? So we select this radio button from where each and every execution it will override the results in temp results. Fine, let's run. Okay, entered. Again it is having some issue. No, it's not identifying calendar again. Fine, cannot identify object WPF calendar of class this verify that this object properties match object currently displayed in application. Let's see how we can overcome again. Let's stop, close the report. Let's check again local repository. Is flight application open? Yes, it is open. Let's check with object spy what are the properties are getting identified. Control click, mouse click, WPF calendar. These are identification properties and these are some native properties. There is no any native property. Click on identification property. Class name is WPF calendar. Class name is already there. Let's use this one. Let's copy. Is there any other property? Save name path. Type name is calendar. Let's close. Use class name. Control V. Save option is not there, so let's close and save. I'm closing this window, opening again. Let us try running. John, password is done. Denver, Frankfurt. Yes, it works. Okay. So we have to identify a unique property through which UFT can identify that particular object. So this is the flow HTML result you can see here. Agent name is set, password is set, it is set secure. So by default password is HP, and for that UFT generates this kind of password so that password is saved properly from unauthenticated use. Okay, click on OK button. After that, from city selected Denver. Here Frankfurt is selected again. Here, yeah, mo dot set that it is successful here now. Okay, so for this object UFT tries to identify, but previously it was found that there were more than one object or with the same properties, so we have updated one property as class name. Now UFT selection of date is completed and further process is done. Okay, so let's close this result now, and this is the recorded structure. What we can modify here is we are giving our flight application by default open. Okay, so let's find what we can do. Before that, there is a system util class dot run is a method with which you can directly execute or open the flight application through UFT. So let's see, you need to provide exe here so that it gets open properly. Let's find the exe. Right click, properties. So this is the target exe, copy, It's already having double quotes, so okay, let's save. You can put a breakpoint so that you can check if flight application gets opened properly or not. Run. Yes, application invoke successful. Let's run. Great. It's pretty quick, right? Good. So our first desktop application automation is done. This is the crude code. If you want to create a function, we can create a specific function for invoking the application, then setting the edit box so that these two steps can be completed with that particular function. Here the target would be to create reusable function at a minimal level so that it can be used for creation of major functions throughout the framework. So I will show you how we can create one simple function with a VB script code. So function invoke flight, fine, and you can just use this code, control X in here. Before that, let's check if application exists or not. If this window dot exist, we can use this here. Then you can just wait for 1 second, and you can use this function here. For calling, you can use call invoke flight, fine. You don't need to use semicolon in VB script or UFT. Okay. So let's check if this function works fine. Run. Okay, it is checking for 5 seconds. Yes, it is not exist. Invoke is successful, fine. I have put a breakpoint so that execution will stop at this point. I don't want further execution because we have already tested this, right? So let's stop. Further improvement to this invoke flight is like you can put this as a timeout over here, as for example I timeout is equal to some 10, and you can provide this timeout here rather than using hard-coded values, and you can iterate a loop for particular time. Also, rather than using this as hard-coded value, you can put this URL in environment file. I will show you how environment file can be configured or can be used, or otherwise you can use this URL via the data table here from global sheet or action sheet, and this function would become reusable in that case. Also, you can put logs here. You will use this invoke flight application in the framework, and it will log in the Excel or in the TXT format, text format, or in UFT itself. You can check UFT generated logs. You will see invoke flight application function is successful or not, fine. Similarly, we can create a function for a WPF edit one function, WPF button one function. For combo box, you can create one function. For image, we can create a separate function. So similarly, least possible reusable components we will create, and depending on that, we will further update or create dependent reusable functions. Fine. So this is what the GUI test looks like, and you can modify accordingly as per your requirement. Fine. Let's see how we can create web UI test. So let me clear this. Let me clear object repository also, so that we can use. We will target here searching UFT1 on the Google search window. We will use Internet Explorer here. We have already covered systemutil.run, right? Systemutil.run method we have. Its first parameter is always the application.exe. So for Internet Explorer we have explore.exe. It is having second parameter as URL. So www.google.com. Let's check if Google opens successfully in this case. Yeah, so let's run. Okay, internet invoked, IE Explorer invoked, and it successful. Let's check. Okay, Google opened. Okay, don't need default. No, switch to Chrome. No thanks. No thanks. Close. And we will search UFT1 here. Okay, so let's check how we can add object here in the local repository. I've opened it. Add objects to local. Select. Okay, web edit. I need this. Okay, see, it identifies the objects by default. Page object is identified and loaded because hierarchy wise it is browser, then page, then the object, right? It is a web edit. And in Selenium you have already seen, I guess, the name property of search text is q, and depending on that only it identifies that particular object. Fine. So let's identify. We need search button also. Web button, add. Okay, button is added. In previous video we have seen recording, right? Here we will see how you can use added objects directly so as to create a script. How you can use this as reusable. So for that you need to use browser.sync method here. So just select this, drag and drop page.sync. Okay, by default it generates this method. Fine. Now we need a search text box. Just select, drag and drop, set. You need to put UFT1. Okay, and after that I need to click on this button. Okay. Fine, looks easy. You can use this way to create a crude code, but each and everything we have dragged and dropped over here need to be utilized in the proper function so that it become reusable. Yeah, so let's try running this. I will close this window. Run. Internet Explorer open. See, sync method waits until page is loading. UFT1 searched. Okay, execution is successful. This green signals says that test is successful, and what are the steps it shows and the percentage. Fine. So let's see. Successfully found the micro focus page in the Internet Explorer. Fine. So let's see and validate if automate functional testing is this link exists in this particular page. How to validate this? Let's add this object also. Okay, this is web element and this is the link. In this link, we have regular expression, right? So we will use regular expression here so that can just confirm if UFT functional testing is visible. So let's put dot star, we'll select regular expression, no, okay, and it again we will use browser.page.sync because it is loading, trying to load another page, right? So sync, and we will put this in if else condition. Fine. So let's set this as busy validation is equal to this, and we will check if obj validation dot exist, we'll put 10, it is the 10-second. Okay, message box true, else message box false. Let's move this, let's close, save and run. Invoke successful, UFT One search successful, yes, message box true. Yeah, okay. So in this way you can just validate or create your crude test, and depending on that you can modify as per the requirement. So this is just for verification. You can create a function called verify page loads or verify the link, and you can pass this as a parameter. So this is what all about the GUI test with desktop as well as web. Fine. So let's conclude here. If you like these tutorials, please do like, subscribe, so that we can continue in-depth knowledge about how UFT identifies object, how ALM can be integrated, what are the different tools and how it can be used, as well as how you can just modify your function so as to create a small framework, and how exactly UFT integrates with each and every component. We can have an overview in depth. Okay, so let's close here. Bye everyone.